So, welcome, dear friends. Today we are going to discuss, as a part of our lecture series on Carvalho, the chapter number 10 and 11. So, let us dive into the chapters directly. And sorry, Mandana, who had promised to get the pot bees into the bee box, didn't turn up for a long time. And our narrator waited for Mandana, who promised to come and set right the things about the setting of the bees in the box. Had not come. Turned up means had not come. Hmm. And nor did I feel the need to look him up. So even the narrator also was not in the need of Mandana. Once or twice, Carvalho stopped me and asked me the whereabouts of Mandana. Even Carvalho wanted to meet Mandana, but Mandana was not there. Even when he met our narrator and he asked about whereabouts the Mandana. Then one day, Mandana's presence became an absolute necessity. The time will come that somebody's presence is very important as you feel it. So now our narrator is feeling the importance of presence of Mandana, but Mandana is nowhere. And why they need Mandana? That there is an incident. As we sat eating our lunch, we heard a strange roaring sound as of waters gushing forth. So waters water comes with a little bit speed in a full length. That is called water gushing, like the river rush, right? But it is the sound like that when the water comes out of reservoir. That is where the water is stored. Okay, dams we say. Even the word reservoir is also dams. So, but these people were sitting in their home and eating their lunch, but they heard that sound, and I rushed out without washing my hand. Tara, my wife, and my little daughter came running behind me. All the people went out to see what as that sound is about. We couldn't see anything, but the sound was all around us pressing. So they didn't see anything, but the sound was there. That is what they thought of what the sound is all about. Then Para shouted, Sahab, it is the bees over the lumber room where we stock firewood. So obviously in the village we stock our firewoods, the, the, the cuts of woods we use to say, for example, make the water hot or cook the rice like that. So that firewood, and we will stock it somewhere. That room is called as lumber room, and there they see the bees. That is what our para said. I ran and saw thousands and thousands of bees circling round at a frightening speed. There in that room, in the lumber room, that is means where the firewood is stocked. So they see the number of bees, that is in thousands, we may say. They are circling at a frightening speed. The space above the room was overcast with clouds of bees. Means many number of bees were there at the top of the room, and there, why those bees were there? There's no what the narrator is searching there. Slowly and stealthily, I walked near the room and peeped in. Peeped in means he looked into the room with a little bit eye, right? Tara had thrown away a broken water jug, and that jug is face down now. The bees were orbiting it. So that bees were circling around the broken jug thrown by Tara into that lumber room, some going in and some out. Then I recalled what I had seen the previous evening. So our narrator had seen something in the previous evening, but he didn't guess what exactly it's going to happen. I had gone there to get the mouse trap and then seen a couple of bees hovering around the mouth of the jug as they hummed near its mouth. A conch like sound, boom boom, came out of it. Only there were two or three, means in a small number. Our narrator found some bees, but he didn't know there will be thousands of bees the next day. But it was unimaginable what is happening in case of our narrator. Perhaps it was their way of measuring the width and depth of the jug. Means those two or three bees are going inside the jug and coming out, and that is how our narrator is imagining that it might be the way, it might be the method of bees to measure the width and depth of the jug. I had not understood that. Though that was not understood by our narrator then, means it's in the last evening, but now he is understanding that why and what has happened then, and now what is happening, right? As Tara and I were watching, the entire swarm of the bees in one moment vanished into the jug. So now all the bees got inside the jug. There wasn't one left. The bees which had come home on their own, I thought, should be put into the bee box. So now narrator searched the bees sometimes before, but now bees are there to the narrator's home on their own. They have come as a free of cost, we may say, as a free of time. So now narrator thought that why can't he try to put those bees in the bee box, and to put them into the bee box they need Mandana, because he is the one who is very much expert in that work. But getting him into my place was a problem. But getting Mandana near to the place of narrator was a problem, because he is not easily available. I didn't know where he stayed. I sent for Norway Ramaya and asked him. So Norway Ramaya was called, and our narrator asks Norway Ramaya that where is Mandana, kind of question, and he says I didn't know where he stayed. So he said, sir, he had come once with Carvalho, and afterwards I haven't seen him. So once our Mandana visited Norway Ramaya's house with Carvalho, and after that he is not found, and he even not visited again to the house of Norway Ramaya. So now, is he all right? Does he have any problems? Is anything bothering him? These are the some of questions which our narrator asks Norway Ramaya about Mandana, that whether the man called Mandana is okay, and is he having any problems? Is there anything which is problematizing his life, or is there anything which is disturbing him? That questions were asked. No problem, sir, but his mother is dead keen on getting him married. So his mother wanted Mandana to be married, right? But she wanted me to give him my daughter. What actually Mandana's mother wanted? Mandana's mother wanted Norway Ramaya to give his daughter to Mandana. But I said, well, at that instant, Norway Ramaya responded like, look, what has he got? No job, no salary. So, and please don't speak of it to me again. There it ended. So, obviously, the father of a daughter will ask this, that if you want to marry any girl, then you must have a job, so that you can earn some money, that is in the form of salary, so that he can take care of that girl who comes from her father's house. That is what the expectation of Norway Ramaya, and he didn't give his daughter to Mandana when they came to the place of Norway Ramaya, and this is all the answers told by Norway Ramaya to our narrator. This, I guessed, was why he was sulking and wouldn't show himself. Maybe this was the problem. Because of that reason, he is nowhere in the show up nowadays. Nowhere on the roads. Nowhere with Carvalho, like that, right? And the poor fellow was obsessed with his wedding. So he is very much he is always thinking of the wedding of his with Norway Ramaya's daughter. But now he might have got upset, he might have disappointed, he must be hiding in some place now. That is what the imagination of our narrator, because he is not at all. So, will you go and fetch him? That's what our narrator asks Norway Ramaya about Mandana. He says, would it be possible for you to bring Norway Mandana to me? That is what the question of our narrator. And to that answer, he says that Norway Ramaya says, I can't, sir. I have rejected his proposal and he is not pleased with me. He is not happy with me because Norway Ramaya has rejected the proposal of Mandana about the marriage, and so it wouldn't be proper for me to go, and it doesn't look well for he is already upset with my words. If you want, I shall send word. That is what the answer of Norway Ramaya. He says, if you want, I shall send people so that they can bring what is the problem with Mandana. I was fed up with their tangled personal problems. Tangled means see tangled personal problems. One is tangled with other. So this is what tangled personal problems. But still, I asked him to do that as I had to see Mandana. So narrator is in a dire need of Mandana. He ultimately want Mandana. It is not necessary that how is not important. It is important to bring. So for the yes. Uh, but still I asked him to do that. I had to see Mandana. For the kitchen, we need firewood. So obviously to cook, you need firewood. To make the water hot, you need water. You need firewood. So ultimately, to get the firewood from that room, it is difficult because there are bees. If we pulled out any, there was the possibility of the jug falling off. What happens if they try to get the firewood? That is what our narrator is explaining to us. If they try any kind of wood or a stick to get out of that room, then there is a possibility of that jug in which the bees have made their hive. So it is their possibility. It is the possibility of falling off of jug. And moreover, my wife had begun to pester me to do something about the bees because wife is the one who is very much needs the firewood because she is the one who is supposed to cook. But people who carried Norway Ramaya's message written to say that Mandana was indifferent to the world, that he was too busy, was needed in his place to keep the pigs off his field. So he is managing the pigs to show away those pigs from his fields. That is what he is too busy in that work. In short, they were unceremoniously dismissed. That, in short, to say that the people who were sent by Norway Ramaya were unceremoniously dismissed, were not respected at all, and they sent without the proper answer. That is what this paragraph says. So now, narrator is telling something about Mandana in his mind only. The rascal has let me down when I needed him most. Actually, Mandana was needed very much for our narrator, but he is nowhere to be found. That is why our narrator is scolding Mandana. I said to myself and went to the bee society to meet Lakshmana for help, and he was willing, but there weren't any bee boxes. Lakshmana was ready to come, but there were not any bee boxes. Why don't you ask Mandana, sir? Again, this was the advice by Lakshmana, and he asks that our narrator should go to Mandana. Why don't he try to go to Mandana? He will get you one for a half the market rate. So that Mandana is very expert in managing the things with an economic rate, within an economic reachable rate. Right? He said, I haven't seen him at all these days. I sent word, but he didn't come. He is a strange fellow. So our narrator also told Lakshmana that he tried to reach him and he was not available there. And that is how our narrator said to Lakshmana. And Lakshmana responds that he is a strange fellow, sir. When he is in his mood, he is all right. And when he is not, there is no knowing how he will behave. So all this is a quite normal nature of any human being who is upset with the way he is living. That is how it is told by Lakshmana that he is very good fellow if he is in a good terms. He is a very wrong one if he won't be in the right terms. So that is what the information about Mandana by Lakshmana. And now, so the problem stayed with us. I decided to carefully carry the jug and leave it in the forest. So they tried to do something to solve the problem of bees and the firewood. Late in the night, Tara and I took it and put it beyond the hedge of our farmhand. That jug has been carried away uh, from the store, that is lumber house, into the forest near their farmland. So now the morning presented me with a fresh problem. There will be another problem when they thrown that jug away. But there will be another problem. There is another problem that the bees which had gone to collect honey came back and not finding the jug create, created a pandemonium, means full of problems, full of they started searching their place here and there, but they were not able to find their jug. Because of that reason they started acting like mad bees. So I asked Tara to pull out as much firewood as we needed and suggested that we put the jug back in its place in the night. So the narrator suggests to Tara to take some firewood because it is time now, and that is how the bees are not in the way where they are supposed to be, because because the jug is not in that place where bees were there. But now, what happens? The bees, perhaps assuming that it was all due to Para's monkeying. So now the bees looks at Para what he is doing, and because of that reason, the bees think Para as their enemy and stung him as he pulled out firewood from the pile. Pile means the storage of firewood where the where our para is taking the firewood, and that is when our all bees stung him. Right? By restoring the jug into its original place, we didn't solve anything. But our narrator and para tried to bring the jug into its same old place. But the bees which had left in the morning went to the place where we had left the jug the previous night and began to hum around. Now this is what another problem. The bees started searching for the jug and they found the new place where our narrator had put the jug in the last night. But today night, what our narrator is doing, he has brought the jug from that forest place to the lumber house. But now, what bees are trying to search is they went in search of the jug to that new place in the forest. That is how the problem has not been solved by taking the jug into its original place, but yeah, and began to hum around. Till evening they were there, and later, when dusk fell, they hung on a dry twig and sat. So obviously, at last, that the nature of or the behavior of bees is something different. They ultimately won't find the jug, and then they found a new place on a dry twig of a plant, and they sat there. They were there for a couple of days and would not move. Worried, I took the twig and the bees along with it and put it into the jug. Now, narrator is also playing the game with those with all those bees, and he took that a twig of a plant on which all the bees sat. He took that twig and he put that twig into the jug. The bees in the jug had perhaps forgotten their mates. Now some bees were there in the jug, some were there on the twigs. Now there are two groups. The narrator is imagining that the the bees which are there on the twig and the bees which are there in the jug have forgotten that all of them are from the same caste or from the same branch or say or from of same family, but they were forgotten that, and they have forgotten that, and they started now quarreling. That is how the things on. I fled. Hundreds of bees started as it were a hand to hand fight and wrestled and fell down dead. Some bees fall down dead. The battle of the bees made me despair of any solution to the vexed problem, and I retired. So the problem has not been solved, it has been vexed, means it has been made more larger. So around noon, the noise as of rushing waters began again. I saw a swarm of bees like a cloud over the pile of firewood, and then in a flash they all vanished. Some have come to the pile of firewood place, but in a flash they all went again. I looked into the lumber room. Thousands of bees has fallen dead in the battle. So obviously in the battle, some bees have fallen dead, and now ants were marching in to feast over the honey and the dead bees. Now it's time to ant to eat the bees. That is why, as I guessed, the bees with their eggs and young ones had left the place so suddenly. Maybe that was the reason, because they thought that this place is not safe, and all the bees and with their eggs and even the young ones, means small bees, also left the place. So I cursed Mandanna, who did not turn up when I wanted him most. So ultimately, our narrator is scolding Mandanna because that Mandanna was not able to come to help our narrator when he was when Mandana was needed the most. That is how the things went on, and that is how the things are not in good terms with the narrator as well as the beast. So this is the chapter number 10, in which the location and dislocation of the beast takes place in the house of our narrator, and he tries to find Mandana, but was nowhere available to solve the problem of our narrator. And like this, it goes on in the chapter number 10. And thank you so much. Watch it and like it. Thank you.